Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the meeting to order, if I may. I could ask you to take your seat so we can start. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to this event here today as a celebration of the International Day for Zero Waste. This event's been co-organised by the Permanent Mission of Turkey, the Geneva Environment Network and UN Habitat here in Geneva. I'm the chief of the Geneva office. I'm actually also a public health engineer by profession and have looked after the waste management portfolio at UN Habitat for several years. So I'm your moderator for this session today. We're meeting here today. It's a very significant moment because back in December 2022, an initiative of the Turkey government joined 105 other member states at the UN General Assembly, adopting a resolution proclaiming the 30th of March as International Day of Zero Waste, with the responsibility of for UN Environment Programme and UN Habitat to facilitate the observance of this International Day. So this is the second of the celebrations here in Geneva and around the world, also in New York and other places. And of course, the main reason is because Geneva is a major global hub for the governance of hazardous substances, of which lots of domestic waste is also toxic. It's home to several international organizations and the home of multilateral environmental agreements that really are aimed at controlling and beating pollution. We're going to be covering many topics here today. We're going to talk about the waste from various different sources. We're going to talk about the science behind ending pollution, about the human rights of those involved in the collection of waste and local governments in their endeavors to manage solid waste. But of course, how much of this work is part and parcel of the Sustainable Development Goals, because solid waste management and zero waste is a key part of many of the SDGs. We know that waste has many threats, both to human health, through air pollution, diseases, and to the environment, but it also costs the global economy hundreds of billions of dollars a year. So everything that we can do to boost waste management and to make it more effective, particularly at local levels, to go part way to solve this pollution crisis, needs a zero waste approach. My agency, UN Habitat, has made its contribution to this through the Waste-Wise Cities tool, and together with UNEP, who are looking after the custodians for the recycling goal, our agencies are fully behind this initiative. So a little more about the program today. After some opening statements from our two dear colleagues to my right and left, we will then have a brief introduction to the recently launched Global Waste Management Outlook and be reminded of some of its key messages. Secondly, we will be highlighting the role of Geneva as a major hub for hazardous management of hazardous substances. Thirdly, we'll hear about some of the steps taken by the actors in International Geneva in support of the zero waste agenda. And finally, before we close the event, we'll hear about some local perspectives on advancing zero waste. So without further ado, it is my honor and pleasure to invite our co-host to give us some opening remarks. And first off, I would like to ask my dear colleague, His Excellency Ambassador Govan, from the who's the permanent representative of Turkey to the United Nations here in Geneva, for his opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I too welcome you all to our event. I should first thank Geneva Environment Network, UN Habitat and UNEP. Without their support, I think we wouldn't be able to put this program together. I should also thank the panelists, especially for their time. The Council is in session. IPU conference is on. time is important. Indeed, we are joined by today also the Turkish IPU delegation. I would like to welcome them also. You will hear from our First Lady, but let me give you brief information about the Turkish experience on the zero waste. It has started with the personal commitment of our First Lady, Her Excellency Emine Erdoğan. Now it is a national policy executed by the Minister of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change. The target is to increase the recovery rate of recyclable waste to 60% in 2035, which was 13% in 2017 and 35% in 2023. Thanks to the Zero Waste project, Turkey has so far saved around 5 million trees, 2.6 billion kilowatt of energy, 820 million cubic meter of water, prevented 6 million tons of greenhouse gas emissions, inject $6 billion into national economy through recycling, process 6 million tons of recyclable waste, introduced the waste management system into 185,000 buildings and campuses, train around 21 million people, and encourage municipalities to apply zero waste management system. The personal commitment of our First Lady now is a global campaign. In 2022, UN General Assembly adopted a resolution. Based on this, advisory board was established by the First Lady Erdoğan and UN Secretary General Guterres. FAO, UNDP, UN Habitat, Mediterranean Parliamentary Assembly, and the World Bank are among those that have recognized the contribution of Zero Waste Project to sustainable development. Lastly, G20 has joined them, both minister and summit levels. Last year at ANGA, General Assembly, President Erdoğan, together with UN Secretary General, has opened for signature a goodwill declaration under the title of Global Commitment to Zero Waste for the World, Our Common Home. The advisory board held its first meeting in Istanbul last November. The board now explores the way on how to proceed on some areas of action, such as a Global Zero Waste Award, declaring a year of zero waste, and establishing a fund for the zero waste. For promotion at global scale, international organizations play a key role. As we see today, UNEP, UN Habitat, ILO, WHO, Human Rights Council, UNSC, multilateral conventions like BRS, Global Cities Hub, UCLG, and perhaps more have a role and responsibility in this regard. Moreover, we would like to see zero waste agenda more visible in G7, G20, COP, and Pacific Island Forum meetings. As our moderator pointed out, waste pollution threatens human health, costs the economy, global economy heavily, and aggravates the triple planetary crisis. Thank you.
Thank you indeed, Excellency, for your opening comments. I'd like to now pass the floor to my colleague from our sister agency, the Director of Europe for UNEP Environment Programme, Arnold Kreihuber.
Thank you very much, Graham. And on behalf of UNEP, I'm very much delighted to welcome you today to celebrate the second annual International Day of Zero Waste. UNEP co-facilitates this important day with UN Habitat. And as His Excellency, the Ambassador of Turkey, has already illustrated to us by presenting his national example, waste pollution threatens well-being, hinders economic prosperity, and aggravates the triple planetary crisis of climate change, nature, and biodiversity loss, as well as, of course, pollution. UNEP's mission includes driving transformational changes by drilling down on the root causes of these triple planetary crises, and we hope that you will continue to support us on this mission, as well as our many partners on this endeavor. As we have heard, Geneva is a major global hub for global governance of hazardous substances. It is, of course, also the home to many multilateral environmental agreements aiming to beat waste pollution, and some of these are hosted by UNEP. And so our organization is, of course, involved in many different processes that all have, when it comes to the celebration of today, this one goal: to achieve a world where there is less waste. We will hear later today also about the findings of the latest waste management outlook. And so I will not go into detail, but just to illustrate that we faced a prospect of within one generation to have the waste generation increase by 2/3. That also means in monetary terms that the costs that governments and stakeholders need to pay to deal with this waste will be growing exponentially. So it is really a call that needs to be made on the second day to celebrate Zero Waste Day, but also beyond that we need to change our ways when it comes to waste, that we need to treat waste differently. This was, of course, also recognized in 2022 when a resolution was put forward by Turkey and 105 other countries. And this resolution follows several other resolutions. I will just mention one adopted also in 2022 at the UN Environment Assembly, which has, of course, as its focus to develop a treaty to deal with plastic pollution. And some of you may know that in less than a month, we will meet in Ottawa, Canada, for the fourth session of the International Negotiating Committee to develop this plastics treaty. In order to #beat waste pollution, we must bolster waste management while improving resource recovery and substantially reducing waste generation. Prevention, reduction, reuse, repurposing, and recycling are critical to this endeavor. So what we really need is a change to our consumption and production patterns and a shift towards a life cycle approach. This, of course, aligns very well also with the Sustainable Development Agenda, and in particular, Sustainable Development Goal 12 on consumption and sustainable consumption and production. Let me just briefly go into a few initiatives that UNEP is particularly proud of when it comes to the promotion of zero waste. We support the One Planet Network, which is a global community of practitioners, policymakers, and experts, including governments, business, civil society, academia, as well as international organizations, and really is meant to help implement the 10-year framework of programs on sustainable consumption and production. The goal here is also to share experiences, share data and resources around the best possible ways to achieve a more sustainable patterns of consumption and production. UNEP hosts the International Environmental Technology Center, which promotes and supports zero waste from a technology and management perspective. The Life Cycle Initiative, hosted by UNEP, promotes life cycle knowledge and advances to help with the understanding and also the adoption of applications that can promote more of a life cycle approach. And that, of course, is also closely linked to the goal of zero waste. UNEP and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation co-lead the global commitment of establishing a shared vision of a life cycle approach to plastics. It has 500 signatories so far, including both plastic producers and financial institutions, as well as governments. And these stakeholders have committed together to an ambitious 2025 target to embrace again a life cycle approach. I think by now what we need to do has become increasingly clear also by the initiatives that I have enumerated to you. We need to change our consumption and production patterns, and we need to move more to a life cycle approach when it comes to the products that we use, how we lead our lives. UNEP also is engaged in a global partnership on marine litter. Of course, the discharge of waste into the marine environment is a particular problem that has also been at the forefront of the efforts to develop a treaty on plastics. And finally, UNEP, together with UN Habitat, is the Secretariat for the Advisory Board on Zero Waste established by the United Nations Secretary General. And we are joined today by another member of this board, who is also the president of the International Solid Waste Association. And as I have already said in the beginning of my remarks, he will speak a bit more about the findings of the latest waste management outlook. Let me conclude by saying that it's probably fair to say that we have the technical expertise to innovate. We have the knowledge, both scientific and through indigenous knowledge, to find the solutions to the waste crisis that we face. And so the day we're celebrating today is an opportunity to develop a stronger drive to really build on the numerous initiatives to foster environmentally sound waste management and to contribute to sustainable development at the end of the day. In concluding, let me applaud Turkey as one of the leaders of the zero waste movement. We are really pleased by the strong support that Turkey provides, especially also under the leadership of Her Excellency, the First Lady, who is also chairing the advisory board on zero waste. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And with this, Graham, let me hand it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Arnold. To close this opening session, we now have we're honored to have a very short video message from Her Excellency the First Lady, Ermen Ögeden.
Kıymetli misafirler, dünyanın tüm kadim öğretileri doğanın bitmek bilmez ilhamından beslenmiş, bütün mahlukat ile uyumlu bir hayatı öğütlemiştir. İrfan ışığıyla dünyayı aydınlatan Anadolu'nun önemli değeri Hazreti Mevlana'nın öğretisi de buna bir örnektir. Cömertlik ve yardım etmede akarsu gibi, şefkat ve merhamette güneş gibi, tevazu ve alçak gönüllülükte toprak gibi, hoşgörüde deniz gibi ol sözleri zamansız bir öğüt olarak bugün de kalplerimizde çınlar. Anadolu'muzun hayranlık uyandıran doğa zenginliği nice şiire, hikayeye, tabloya ilham olmuştur. Geçmişteki hayranlık uyandıran tabiat ile hürmet eksenindeki ilişki günden güne terk edilirken gelecek nesillere nasıl bir dünya bıraktığımızı düşünüyorum. Bize cömertçe bereketini sunan akarsular yanlış tüketim neticesinde yok olma tehlikesi yaşarken bizi tevazu ile besleyen toprak kimyasal atıklarımız yüzünden yaşam mücadelesi veriyor. Hava kirliliği her yıl 7 milyon insanın hayatını kaybetmesine yol açıyor. 1970'ten bu yana küresel yaban hayatı popülasyonu %70 azalmış durumda. Dünya, insanlığın her yıl ürettiği 2 milyar ton atığı sırtında taşıyor. Her gün 2000 çöp kamyonuna eşdeğer plastiği okyanuslara, nehirlere ve göllere atıyoruz. Okyanusta yüzen kıta büyüklüğünde bir plastik adasının bu yüzyıl insanının eseri olması vicdanlarımıza sığıyor mu? Şayet insanlık gerçek anlamda bir ilerleme kaydediyor olsaydı, bu ilerlemenin dünyayı daha medeni ve insani bir yer yapması gerekmez miydi? İklim değişikliğinin ve çevre kirliliğinin sonuçlarını acı tecrübelerle öğrenen bizler, bir yandan bu sınamalarla mücadele etmeli, diğer yandan gelecek nesillere olan sorumluluğumuz bağlamında sürdürülebilirlikle ilgili somut adımlar atmalıyız. İşte bu düşüncelerle tohumlarını 2017 yılında attığımız Sıfır Atık Hareketi'nin Birleşmiş Milletler Genel Kurul kararıyla küresel bir harekete dönüşmesinden büyük bir memnuniyet duyuyorum. Sıfır Atık Hareketi çevre konusunda bireysel ve aktif gönüllülük imkanları sunarak her gruptan insanı çatısı altında birleştiriyor. Sıfır atık yaklaşımının kalbinde tükettiğimiz her kaynağın sorumlulukla kullanılması gerektiği kabulü vardır. Satın aldığımız ürünlerden kullandığımız malzemelere kadar her gün bilinçli seçimler yapmak, alışkanlıklarımızı, seçimlerimizi ve üretim süreçlerimizi tabiat ile uyumlu hale getirmek zorundayız. Birleşmiş Milletler Sıfır Atık Yüksek Düzeyli Şahsiyetler Danışma Kurulu'nun başkanı olarak atıksız ve sürdürülebilir yaşam bilincinin gelecek nesillere bırakabileceğimiz en güzel miraslardan biri olacağına inanıyorum. Değerli 13 üyeden oluşan danışma kurulu kapsamındaki çalışmalarımız, iyi uygulamaların paylaşılması başta olmak üzere sıfır atık yaklaşımının yaygınlaştırılması çerçevesinde yoğun bir şekilde devam ediyor. Birleşmiş Milletler Sıfır Atık kararıyla ilan edilen 30 Mart Uluslararası Sıfır Atık Günü'nün de bu kapsamda önemli bir fırsat teşkil ettiğini düşünüyorum. Ortak evimiz dünyayı daha yaşanabilir bir yer yapmak için vaktini ve emeğini ortaya koyan bütün çevre gönüllülerinin Sıfır Atık Günü'nü kutluyorum. Uluslararası Sıfır Atık Günü'ne yönelik Birleşmiş Milletler Habitat ve Birleşmiş Milletler Çevre Programı başta olmak üzere uluslararası kuruluşların değerli işbirliğiyle düzenlenen tüm etkinliklerin hayırlara vesile olmasını diliyorum. Dünyanın dört bir yanındaki diplomatik temsilciliklerimizin Türkiye'nin bayrak taşıyıcısı olduğu bu özel günde etkinlikleri ve çalışmaları ile sundukları katkıdan dolayı yürekten teşekkür ediyorum. Biliyorsunuz Sayın Guterres ile başlattığımız Küresel Sıfır Atık İyi Niyet beyanını çevrim içi imzaya da açtık. Beyanın hali hazırda 30'dan fazla devlet hükümet başkanı eşi olmak üzere binlerce insanın desteğini alması mutluluk verici. Bu vesileyle herkesi bir kez daha iyi niyet beyanını imzalayarak sıfır atık gönüllüsü olmaya davet ediyorum. Kaynakların en üst düzeyde kullanıldığı, atıkların en aza indirildiği ve sürdürülebilirliğin üstün geldiği refah dolu bir dünya diliyorum. Kalın sağlıcakla. Kıymetli misafir.
Your Excellency, we are deeply honoured for your message and for indeed being there at the very beginning of this whole idea of zero waste. So we come to the end of the closing session, the opening session now, and the next session we're going to hear some more details about this very engaging report, the Global Waste Management Outlook. So I'd like to invite the President of the International Solid Waste Association, Mr. Carlos Silva Filho, who's joining us online to share with us the insights of this impressive report. Over to you, Carlos.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It's a great honor to join this high-level event, even though on online format. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'd like also to express my acknowledgement and gratitude to Turkey as the leaders for this agenda on zero waste, and on behalf of the whole International Solid Waste Association community, also express our gratitude for the First Lady for her dedication towards raising awareness to change the current paradigm in terms of moving from a wasteful society to a zero waste future. So I'm very proud to be a member of the United Nations Secretary General's Advisory Board and promote this commitment at the global level, and thus celebrating the second edition of the International Day of Zero Waste. I will share my screen in order to present some of the main findings from the Global Waste Management Outlook 2024, which states as a very important motto, which being like turning rubbish into a resource. The reason behind of this Global Waste Management Outlook which has been published, jointly published by UNEP and ISVA, is because our vision is a world where a waste doesn't exist, where the materials discarded by society should be reduced to a minimum and then reused, recycled, and treated properly. Because we are living on a finite planet, we are living on a planet, our common home, that has been affected by many of our activities, which led to the current triple planetary crisis: a crisis of pollution, a crisis of biodiversity loss, and a crisis of climate change. All of them happening at the same time and leading also to a humanitarian crisis that affects the most vulnerable ones, who suffer from air pollution, from a contaminated soil, from a polluted water, and live on a very poor conditions. And one of the main externalities leading to this triple crisis is related to waste generation, to a massive waste generation throughout the recent decades. According to this recent report we launched at UNEA 6 on the 28th of February, we need to go beyond an age of waste. Because if we continue business as usual, we will move from 2.1 billion tons generated in 2020, which is the baseline of this report, to 3.78 billion tons generated by 2050, with a major impact in the developing regions, where we will see population growth and economic growth. Looking at this perspective of waste generation growth under the business as usual scenario, we realize that most of the impact on the waste generation will come due to economic growth. Does it lead us to a conclusion that it's very important and urgent to decouple the current economic system from economic growth and reflecting into waste generation? If we look how the waste management system is carried currently, we see that despite all the efforts, despite all the messages that have been shared throughout the most recent years or even centuries, we still have a huge proportion of the waste generated in the world going to uncontrolled disposal, meaning open dumps and open burning, affecting the lives of millions of people. We still have 2.7 billion people in the world without the basic waste collection services, and the average of only 19% of the waste nowadays are being effectively recycled. So again, if we continue on this pathway under the business as usual approach, or as we are calling it under the waste management as usual approach, in 2050, the amount of waste that will be going to uncontrolled sites will reach 1.57 billion tons, or will double from the amounts that we observed in 2020. So, a clear conclusion from this scenario, from the baseline scenario, is that waste management as usual cannot be continued. It's really, we need to shift to a different approach, and then the report considers two scenarios. One intermediate scenario that we named waste under control, and the more ambitious scenario, the circular economy, the circular waste management. Under the waste, the intermediate scenario, the premise is to end all inadequate disposal, to stop open burning, and to halt, to stabilize waste generation. Under the circular waste management scenario, the premise is to decouple waste generation from economic growth, and to reduce waste generation, and to improve waste recovery with high-level recycling rates. And then we calculated what would be the impact from the different scenarios in terms of costs. It is the first time an international publication is able to calculate with scientific evidences the costs of externalities in terms of waste management. So currently, the full net cost of our waste management system reaches $361 billion. If we continue under the same pattern, these costs will reach more than $640 billion by 2050. If we are able to really move into this intermediate scenario all over the world, then the full net costs will be reduced to 170 billion US dollars. So in 2050, so less than the current costs. But if we go to a circular economy, if we really implement a zero waste scenario, then we change completely this landscape, and we will be able to receive a full net gain of more than $100 billion, and also as a direct positive result, we would be able to mitigate 15 to 25% of the global greenhouse gases emissions. So it's really imperative that we move towards this scenario, that we take into consideration the three waste management priorities as we brought as like a strong recommendation from this report, and start changing, transitioning to this circular economy scenario. So some of the key messages from the report, which is available to be downloaded: the business as usual approach is exhausted. We need urgently a paradigm shift, the one that is being advocated by the International Day of Zero Waste, and like which is being promoted through this advisory board led by the First Lady from Turkey. And we need this urgent transition from waste as garbage to waste as a resource. It's imperative to adopt a circular practice with holistic approach. No more siloed management systems. This is one of the root causes of the current failures. And in order to prompt this change, we need a global push. We need really everybody on the sitting at the table and contributing to this just transition, contributing to the advancement of this agenda. This is a very direct message that has been prepared on behalf of for the launch of the Global Waste Management Outlook 2024. And I would say this is the message we would like to disseminate during this second edition of the International Day of Zero Waste. A circular economy approach is the only way to make waste management affordable. So we are considering from ISVA that this report is a guide and a call for action to catalyze collective efforts to support bold and transformative solutions as the only way to ensure a livable planet for the future. So I thank you very much for the opportunity, and congratulate all the attendees, and thanks to the organizers for putting together this agenda and these audiences in order to raise the awareness for the change that we need to provide to our planet, starting with each one of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Carlos, for those very, very clear and inspiring messages backed up by very, very strong science. The first time that this has been quantified properly in terms of the externalities in particular. So we'd now like to, having heard that about that great report, we'd now like to hear from some of the institutions here in Multilateral Geneva in how they're helping to advance the zero waste agenda. So the first speaker we have the benefit of listening to is Marcos Orellana, who's the UN Special Rapporteur on Toxic and Human Rights. Marcos, can you give us your words of wisdom, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, Excellencies, colleagues, friends. A good day to all. My thanks to the organizers for the kind invitation to join you today and celebrate the second annual International Day of Zero Waste. The mandate on toxics and human rights of the Human Rights Council is focused on monitoring and reporting. And we've heard earlier today about the staggering economic costs in dealing with wastes. I wish to illustrate a couple of stories from the field that demonstrate or show the human impact of this situation, because communities around the world are inundated with wastes of various kinds. Organic waste, for example, which not only contributes to disease, cholera outbreaks, fever, diarrhea, especially in kids, dehydration, but also stories that have come across of people living in poverty that are experiencing on a daily basis pests and vermin, stories of families that find rats nibbling on their babies at night because of the pests and the vermin. And so families resort to so-called street pesticides, which are industrial pesticides used in the fields under supposedly controlled conditions, and yet sold illegally in markets so that communities may fence off and deal with vermin. Unfortunately, it's often the children that find these pesticides and often eat them, and as a result, they lose their lives. The statistics, unfortunately, are showing of a massive scores of children dying around the world because of street pesticides. It was mentioned also earlier today about plastic wastes. In many places, waste is illegally dumped and burned, exposing the population to toxic fumes. The First Lady of Turkey reminded us of the continent-sized island that's of plastic that's in the oceans. This has disproportionate impacts on small islands in the Pacific, on coastal communities worldwide. I wish to highlight the global environmental injustice involved in this, where certain business entities, largely based in the global north, they profit from externalizing the waste and the environmental and human rights burdens on developing countries. All of this has adverse impacts on human rights, on the rights to life, the right to health, and the right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. How do we begin to tackle the global threat of waste, the transition towards a chemically safe circular economy has been put on the table? I wish to point out, for the sake of time, 3 principles. The polluter pays principle is one. And here, for a moment, stopping at the responsibility of the producer in respect of globally traded goods, because in extended producer responsibility schemes, it is usually the importer of traded goods that has certain responsibilities on the basis of the polluter pays principle. But this often ends up transferring the burden onto developing countries, and that is certainly a problem. Secondly, access to information, and information, for example, on toxic additives added to plastics. That has been mentioned about recycling as a key element of the chemically safe circular economy. But it's not that we don't want to recycle plastics or that there's insufficient capacity, only insufficient capacity, which there is insufficient capacity, but it's also that by design, most plastics are unrecyclable because of the toxic additives that they contain. And the last principle I thought I'd mention is technology for zero waste in production. If I could echo the opening words of Arnold Kreilhuber, we now have the technology to move to zero waste. And if I could add, not just for reducing or minimizing impacts, but for avoiding releases of toxic emissions altogether. So in that sense, echo the words of Carlos Silva Filho, that the vision is a world without waste. The example of preventing sacrifice zones is very important. Areas that are so contaminated that they represent a systematic denial of human rights. And so the challenge is to place technology at the service of human rights. To conclude, I simply wish to echo and point out that UNEP's Global Waste Management Outlook 2024 makes an invaluable contribution to characterizing and comprehending the magnitude of the challenge ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Marcos. The second speaker is David Ogden, who's the Deputy Executive Secretary for the Basel, Rotterdam and Stockholm Conventions, who of course are here in Geneva. So over to you.
Thank you, Graham. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure on behalf of the Basel, Rotterdam, and Stockholm Convention to be involved in this Zero Waste Day, International Zero Waste Day. So with that, what you saw in the Global Waste Outlook is a very clear picture of the need for action and need for action urgently. So I really appreciate. So I won't go into any more statistics than what's already been provided. If there is one zero waste global multilateral environmental agreement, it's the Basel Convention, which has been around since 1989. In fact, waste prevention and minimization, which is central to the zero waste movement, has been one of the key pillars of the Basel Convention over at least the last 30 years. Prevention and minimization of waste generation aims to end end-of-pipe solutions and decouple production and consumption patterns from waste generations, reducing pollution and avoiding greenhouse gas emissions. The reality is that most countries today, once waste is generated, it becomes an externality, which has an indirect cost to human health and the environment and or to society to deal with the waste. Hazardous and other wastes are serious health and environmental threats, and it is very difficult for countries to manage them in an environmentally sound manner or to transfer wastes into resources. The Basel Convention promotes the development of prevention and minimization strategies at the national level as part of a framework for the environmentally sound management of hazardous and other wastes. The strategies require prioritizing the management of waste from upstream as the best and most affordable solution to improve waste management. The parties to the Basel Convention have also developed numerous technical guidelines and guidance to manage waste streams such as household waste, plastic waste, e-waste, and many others. Each guidance promotes, as a first step, waste stream-specific prevention strategies to strive for reduced material use, alternative use of recycled materials, use of less hazardous materials, and repair and refurbishment to prolong the life of products. The body of Basel Convention technical guidelines and guidance also considers the role of the informal sector in waste management and how to avoid exposure of children, pregnant women, and vulnerable communities to unsound practices such as uncontrolled waste dumping, cherry picking of the most valuable waste fractions, open burning of waste, and illegal traffic of hazardous and other wastes. The national implementation of these technical guidelines, can, however, be challenging because often prevention and recycling solutions require economies of scale. For this reason, the Basel Convention, along with the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants, have promoted a regional approach to waste management with the support of their regional centers for training and technology transfer. This approach has facilitated the cooperation among countries which share the same language and have similar environmental and social situations in each of the UN regions. Finally, successful prevention strategies involve many stakeholders. To this end, the parties to the Basel Convention have established public-private partnerships on key waste streams, such as plastic waste, household waste, e-waste, illegal traffic, and other wastes. These partnerships have been platforms where knowledge and actions at the global level are coordinated at the regional, the city, and the local levels. They have promoted prevention and minimization strategies and circular economy approaches among stakeholders, such as the private sector, governments, cities, academia, NGOs, schools, and youth. In concluding my remarks in this year's celebrations of the International Zero Waste Day, I wish to just continue to stress the importance that all stakeholders work together to improve waste prevention, minimization, and the management of waste for a more sustainable future, and of course, eventually reaching the goal of zero waste. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, David. Just a reminder that those statutes have been in place for some time, and they're so relevant for what we're trying to do towards zero waste. So the next speaker this afternoon is Mr. Mustafa Kamal Guy, who's the Director of Priority Action Programs on Just Transitions towards Environmentally Sustainable Economies and Societies from the International Labour Organization. Mustafa.
Thank you very much, Graham. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the International Labour Organization, I'm pleased and honored to join the celebration of the Zero Waste Day here in Geneva. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is indispensable and urgent to transform the take, make, and waste economy of today into a circular economy. This will not only reduce waste and environmental damage, it will also open new opportunities to generate decent work. Millions of people today work and earn a living from the collection, the sorting, and the recycling of municipal waste. In a world free from plastic and waste pollution, it is imperative that those women and men can sustain their livelihoods by working and earning a living. The good news is that it is possible. A well-planned transition to a world free from waste pollution can be a driver for sustainability, social inclusion, and decent work creation. At the ILO, we have estimated that 6 million jobs could be created through waste management and recycling, just focusing on plastics, glass, wood pulp, metals, and minerals. And if the world was to shift totally to a circular economy, we estimate that 78 million jobs would be possible by 2030. However, 70 million jobs could be put at risk in the absence of a coherent approach to policy making, and this is why the social dimensions of the ecological transition are critical. Policies are essential. They will determine the social outcome of the transition to sustainability. If we take a human-centered approach to combating waste pollution and remembering that decent work is a cornerstone of the Sustainable Development Goal, the journey to a circular economy can be a positive narrative. The sad reality today is that the handling of waste, municipal waste in particular, remains largely part of the informal economy in many countries. The workers face serious decent work deficits, such as work-related safety, and health hazard, discrimination, violence and harassment, low earning with no access to adequate social protection. Addressing these gaps will greatly enhance the opportunities for decent work. The social and solidarity economy offers an important avenue to promote productive, socially inclusive, and innovative approaches to organizing work in the waste sector. Several international labor standards provide building blocks in this journey. For example, the ILO Recommendation 204, transition from the informal to the formal economy, is a critical framework. The ILO Guideline for a Just Transition, which the International Labour Conference endorsed last year, is the central reference for action. At the national level, labour policies on skills, enterprise development, employment-intensive job creation, and occupational safety and health are essential. At the international level, the negotiations towards a global treaty against plastic pollution must place humans and workers at the center. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, numerical targets on the volume of waste reduced or recycled simply would not determine the global ambition to move to a world free from plastic pollution. The human capacity to transform production systems will fundamentally determine that ambition. In particular, it will be enterprises and workers able to produce goods aligned with the objectives of a circular economy. And this is why governments, workers, and employers are active agents of change and enablers of the transition. Together, we can make possible a journey to a world free from waste pollution, promoting decent work, and advancing social justice for all. The ILO, with our tripartite constituents, stand ready to engage, supporting our member states in this important journey. And I appreciate the leadership and engagement of Turkey. It's always with my name and godfather, Mr. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, to be engaged with events involving Turkish government. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mustafa. We next move on to our next partner in the UN family, and this is Maggie Montgomery, who's the settings lead for water, sanitation, hygiene and health in the World Health Organization. Maggie.
Super. Thank you, Graham. And I'm going to go a bit off script because I have a few slides, but mostly to show some data, and really honored to be here today. And I'm certainly being inspired by what's being said. So I really hope after today's event that as a Geneva community, we can do more collectively on this issue. So just it was great because we've heard already from Carlos and Marcos some of the facts around the impact that waste has on health. But I just wanted, first of all, to highlight that when we look at the healthcare setting itself, we still have 1 in 3 hospitals in the world that don't have basic waste management, right? So, I mean, that's fundamental to be able to safely manage waste, to reduce waste, to recycle waste. Lots of infections, 1.7 million Hep B, 315,000 Hep C, and over 33,000 HIV infections happen every year because of unsafe injections, right? And a lot of this has to do with how the needles and how that injection waste is handled. We've already heard about the health impacts of what happens when you burn plastics, and a significant proportion, actually the majority of healthcare waste is plastic. So again, that's another thing to think about. E-waste, of course, also has a lot of impacts on people's health, in particular from all the chemicals like mercury and lead that is found in that e-waste. And again, we've heard already about some of the diseases. We just did a new fact sheet on the spread of mosquito-borne disease. We're seeing a huge rise right now in dengue and malaria, and we know both of those diseases could be significantly prevented if we could better manage water, and in particular make sure that we don't have solid waste that's sitting around and collecting bits of water that mosquitoes love to breed in. So what is the role of WHO? I mean, just to remind everyone here, I mean, I think there's a number of things that I wanted to highlight. First is just to make sure that countries understand what are the latest standards, what should they have in their regulations, because without that, it's very hard to incentivize producers to change. It's very hard to incentivize, in our field, at least the health sector, to make changes. So that's super important. It's great to hear about the UNGA resolution in 2022. There's a number of World Health Assembly resolutions. In 2019, we had the one on wash and waste in healthcare facilities, and that was signed by all member states, and WHO is now tracking progress on that. We have another one coming up this year, which also highlights waste, and that's on climate change and health. So there's a number of mechanisms to engage the health sector. There's all kinds of training that's happening, and I think it'd be great to kind of think about how we could maybe bring together some of these trainings to provide a more comprehensive approach, as well as coordination. And I just wanted to highlight some of the work that's happening around the Alliance for Action on Climate Change and Health, and this is linked to commitments that have been made at the COP around low carbon and sustainable health systems. I just wanted to highlight one thing then, and you know, we've talked about it with the Basel Convention, and I've heard it a lot here about we need to reduce the amount of waste we're creating in the first place. So we did a report on COVID waste, and this was just looking at the data from what the UN procured for COVID-19. And we found almost half of the items procured weren't necessary. Okay, you don't need to wear a moon suit to give a COVID vaccination. Actually, in a lot of instances, you don't even need gloves. You need good hand hygiene. So you need good water, you need soap, you need alcohol-based hand rub. But I mean, here is a major way that we could cut back on waste and obviously save a lot of money from things that don't need to be procured, but also a lot of impact from shipping all kinds of personal protective equipment around the world. So just some of the key messages. We know that the uncontrolled solid waste impacts health, and we see that those risks are increasing. So that's something we really need to address. We also know that we can protect health and the environment. And I think certainly in the health community, that's really important. They seem to think it's one or the other, but it's not. It's certainly both. And starting with the waste reduction within the health system and the health sector is important. We've talked already about the manufacturer role. There's also a really important consumer role. I mean, one thing that we try to do with healthcare professionals and even with consumers around masks is to help people understand, okay, there are safe reusable masks. Hand hygiene is a preferred alternative to using gloves. So those kinds of things. We also know that this needs to be publicly funded and regulated. If there aren't regulations, if the public sector, if governments aren't investing in this issue, we won't be able to solve it. And certainly from WHO's perspective, we see that the health sector has a really important role to play. So thank you for that, and I'll hand it back to the chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Maggie, for inviting us and informing us of all these special sources of waste and, you know, how what we consider to be normal waste is actually very hazardous. We'd now like to move on to our next speaker within the UN family, who is Elena Santa, who is an environmental affairs officer in the Environmental Performance Review Programme in the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. Elena.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished panelists, I'm pleased to welcome you here, and I'm pleased to join you here on celebration of the Zero Waste Date on behalf of the Economic Commission for Europe. It has, our commission has over 50 years fostered environmental protection and sustainable development across Europe, North America, the Caucasus, in Central Asia. We have unique multilateral environmental agreements and normative tools produced in our sectoral programs, including in transport, trade, energy, statistics, environment. We have numerous tools, but I would like, including in reduction of the fast fashion waste, which was not yet mentioned, but I will only focus now on one tool, which is environmental performance reviews. They correspond, our findings correspond to the global waste outlook. And these tools helps at the national level to the countries to assess environmental integration and the environmental integration into economic sectors. It was initiated by OSCE followed by OSCE in 91, and we have now 25 years of experience in carrying out environment performance review in about 30 countries, and we have done about around 57 reviews. Objective is to improve environmental management and performance, promote information exchange, and enhance public accountability and international cooperation. And we also support the achievement and assessment of sustainable development goals. One of the goals are related to the implementation of the chemical conventions, and we assess the data available in the 30 countries on implementation of these treaties. Now we are at the fourth cycle of the review, and this cycle already includes not only the basic data, but it also focuses on circular economy. And our waste management chapter, which is one of the chapters in every country. It focuses not only on the waste data generation, but also on possibilities of recycling, on possibilities of waste prevention, and possibilities of the waste reduction. It highlights all challenges and opportunities, and it assesses the trends of various waste streams, which are also subject to the waste reuse and recycling. It produces recommendations on legislation, waste management strategies, data collection, and management. And it supports transition to circular economy. The countries which we cover, they include 2 countries from European Union, Bulgaria and Romania, and countries of the Southeastern Europe, countries of the Caucasus, Eastern Europe, and Central Asia. A part of other aims of the EPR, we also support the information exchange and good practices. And we do it through presenting these reports at the high-level meetings, also at the Committee of Environmental Policy, which adopts the recommendation of the findings, recommendations and the findings. And reports are made available on our website. And since 2022, we also have a mandate to follow up and support the implementation of the recommendations. In some countries, the rate of the implementation of recommendations, including in the waste sector, is 69, although this is variable in various countries depending on the commitments of the governments. Last year, we have, for the first time, made a workshop on waste management, which was related to promotion of the waste implementation of the waste recommendation in various countries and development of various tools to enhance such implementation of the recommendations. What are the findings? In this workshop, we analyzed what are the general findings. The waste generation is growing in majority of the countries of the EPR. In some countries, only in the countries which are going from the industrial production to service economies, they are reducing. Electronic and medical waste grows, and the issue of obsolete pesticides and hazardous waste hotspot remains. Foreign investment in these countries is the main driving force for the waste-related projects. The challenges still remain. It is a weak legislation, when the legislation is in place, then enforcement remains a challenge. In most EPR countries, the infrastructure for waste management, basic infrastructure for waste management is still lacking. Majority of the waste is collected in the dump fields or the landfills, which are not corresponding to the international standards. They don't have a separation facilities, neither they are connected to the recycling facilities. Financing of such infrastructure is an issue in majority of the countries. They are only financed, really they are financed from the national budgets, and majority of them are financed from with the loans from the international financial institutions. Separate collection systems, they're very limited. They are either existing on the pilot basis or only in the major cities. One of the biggest problem towards the zero waste in all of the countries in unreliable waste generation and management statistics. This is it's unreliable inventories of the waste production. This prevents the countries from introducing of the proper extended producer responsibility schemes. And it's also does not allow to properly calculate and see the possibilities for the waste recycling. There, although some countries, including those in European Union, have, for example, the target to recycle 70% of industrial waste, they still which is biggest potential for the zero waste initiative. These targets are not met, and they remain as low as 25 or even less percent. However, EPR identified that industrial and construction waste recycling potential is rarely used. One of the biggest problems, once again, is the data collection on this waste. Majority, 70% of the countries, they don't have statistics on this waste. However, we identify through EPR certain good practices, like in North Macedonia, for example, the metallurgical plant white slag from the furnaces is used in cement industries, and 20% of the bricks for the walls contain the wastes, sort of says waste from this metallurgical plant. In Tajikistan, in some pilot project on the construction waste, there were possibilities of using the old asphalt from the motorways, which were renewed for the improved rural roads. And ECE helps the countries to identify those examples and promote the examples. The EPRs, they also help to help the governments to follow the recommendations. And the recommendations are considered as a guiding tool for the cross-sectoral and cross-sectoral incorporation of environmental policies. They help to integrate the waste targets also in transport, energy, in the industrial, agricultural policies. ECE also has various tools, except of EPRs, which promote zero waste. And it's a pan-European assessment which generates recommendation at the pan-European level to promote the integrated waste management and also circular economy. We have an initiative in the Trade Department on Circular Step, which collects also good practices and generates standards for various tools. And in Transport Division, there are standards for the packaging of transported goods. And of course, as the special rapporteur said, the access to information is an important tool also in the waste management. UNECE hosts the Aarhus Convention, which provides for proper access to information and public participation in environmental matters. And its protocol on pollution protocol on the pollution release and transfer registers provides an opportunity to register various waste flows which support waste reuse and recycle. UNECE stands ready to join all international Geneva in the Zero Waste Initiative, and we will support our constituency in their national efforts in doing so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Elena. Another marvellous example from the UN system of this partnership approach to managing waste. I'd now like to move to our last speaker in this segment, but by no means our least important speaker in this segment, and who's an important partner to many of the people who've already spoken, and that's the Global Cities Hub housed here in Geneva. And I'd like to invite the co-director, Camila Camavera, to share with us her reflections on zero waste.
Thank you very much, Graham, Diana from Geneva Environment Network for organizing this celebration. Excellencies, dear friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. So today we gather to address the findings of the Global Waste Management Outlook 2024 report, which prudently addresses the role of local and regional governments. It says that accordingly to the findings, municipal solid waste generation is projected to escalate by 2050, given the urbanization of our planet, leaving approximately 2.7 billion people without access to solid waste collection. So these and other findings of the report brings us to a critical question. How many of these people will live in cities, and how many of these people will depend on waste management by local and regional governments? And the answer is a very significant number. So we all know that local and regional governments stand at the forefront of combating air, plastic, and other forms of pollution, and its detrimental effects on the environment and public health. And the organizers asked me to explain how this perspective of local and regional governments is included in the multilateral processes of our time, the discussions, the negotiations we're having on plastic pollutions. So while member states play a primary role in shaping rules, norms, and their implementation, and they give mandates to all the secretariats around me, be UNEP, UN Habitat, or UNEC, we know that member states cannot implement all the rules and norms they decide upon on their own. They need local and regional governments, which are part of the governance of each country, and we know that the substantial contribution of local and regional governments to address this global challenge is absolutely crucial. So various ongoing multilateral processes acknowledge the impact of pollution. Notably, there are negotiations on new plastic pollution treaty alongside with intergovernmental debates related to conventions on different conferences of the parties, known as COPs, on biodiversity, waste and climate change, to name a few. There are also softer instruments such as resolutions, also complementing the work at international level. So these multilateral processes serve to either raise awareness or provide frameworks to negotiate new treaties, protocols, or agreements under the main convention. However, these forums involve central governments only and often fail to adequately acknowledge the role of local and regional governments. And even more flexible instruments, such as the one negotiated 3 weeks ago at UNEA 6, which is the United Nations Environment Assembly, on air pollution and other forms of pollution, they quite failed to address this reference or this role that local and regional governments play. So despite recognizing, here's the paradox, despite recognizing the critical need for cooperation with local and regional governments, states often hesitate to include references to them in legal documents. Yet it is obvious that states will have to heavily rely on local and regional governments in order to effectively implement the internationally negotiated rules. So why this obstruction? Is it due to a traditional preference for multilateralism among member states, or is local and regional governance deemed too sensitive? I will let you the reply to decide. The Global Cities Hub, which is based in Geneva, has been created to support these local and regional governments raising their voices within these multilateral processes. And local and regional governments and their networks, as we will hear in a moment for one of them, are mobilizing, engaging in major groups to amplify action and collaborating with coalitions, such as the newly formed Local and Subnational Governments Coalition to End Plastic Pollution, which will be launched on 22nd of April in Ottawa in the margin of the negotiation of the Plastic Pollution Treaty. So local and regional governments must contribute significantly to shaping future instruments on pollution by participating in multilateral processes and sharing local best practices which aim to promote a just transition, circular economy initiatives to raise awareness and instigate behavioral change among their populations. Finally, the good news is that some states recognize the imperative of including all levels of governments. Turkey, for example, which is our host today, is one of the very few countries, actually 9 out of more than 160, which makes explicit reference about the local governments in their official submission to the Plastic Pollution Treaty. And I quote one sentence from this submission, which was done to the Plastics Pollution Treaty in December 2022. So Turkey says it is essential that the separate collection of source, sorting and recycling, which are the basic principles in the environmentally sound management of plastic waste, is carried out by local governments. Very clear. There is other statements, references to this. So ambassadors and First Lady, we can only commend you for this reference. And we can only hope that you will also carry on this message next month to the Ottawa to the negotiations. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Camelia. So we now move to the penultimate session of this afternoon's meeting, where we're going to hear from a very important intergovernmental fora who has a key role to play in advancing the zero waste target. And this, in fact, is from the UN Climate Change COP28 host. And this will be spoken to by my dear colleague on my left, Madam Her Excellency Dilara Abdullaeva, who is the Deputy Permanent Representative from the Republic of Azerbaijan. Madam.
Thank you and good afternoon. It is a great pleasure to be here. I wish to extend our gratitude to the Permanent Mission of Turkey, UNEP, UN Habitat and Geneva Environment Network for organizing this important event commemorating International Day of Zero Waste. Azerbaijan has made significant achievements in the area of waste management, both at national and international level. The country has introduced several waste management initiatives to reduce the amount of waste generated and improve the country's environmental performance. These initiatives include the construction of new landfills, the introduction of recycling programs, and the development of new waste treatment facilities. Azerbaijan has also collaborated with international organizations and partners to improve waste management practices, including recycling. This cooperation involves knowledge sharing, technology transfer, and financial assistance. One of the key steps towards managing waste in the country was the elimination of the Black City and the creation of an ecologically clean White City. When the first oil boom swamped the country with heavy oil production at the end of the 19th century, heavy pollution constituted what we call the Black City in the eastern part of Baku. It played an important role in the oil industry for more than 100 years by processing, storing, and transporting black gold. However, the Black City, while contributing to our economy and the development of the oil industry, it was spoiling the capital's ecological environment. As part of the Baku White City project, all industrial facilities were removed from the city limits, the cleaning of the oil-contaminated land and the improvement of the coastal boulevard were carried out. Ecological monitoring has already been carried out in White City and work has been done to purify and detoxify the waste accumulated from the oil refineries. Moreover, I would like to highlight that we are currently undertaking extensive post-conflict rehabilitation, reconstruction, and reintegration efforts in the liberated territories. These activities are based on climate-friendly, environmentally clean technologies, as well as smart and green approaches. During the occupation years, the infrastructure was completely destroyed, and it is almost impossible to use them in construction work. Following liberation, to ensure a circular economy, Work was launched on the sustainable management of construction waste during the restoration of settlements in the liberated territories. In 2022, the UNEP assessment mission was sent to liberated lands to provide international support in eliminating environmental damage in the country. For construction and demolition waste management, laboratory analyses were carried out on samples taken from the territories of Shusha and Agdam, and they were determined suitable for use in construction after their processing. Overall, Azerbaijan's initiatives ensure safe and environmentally efficient waste management, help to reduce its carbon footprint and improve its overall environmental performance. We are honored that Azerbaijan was chosen to host COP29, and we understand the great responsibility that comes with it. 2024 marks the year of solidarity for a green world in Azerbaijan. Hosting and presiding over COP29 recognizes Azerbaijan's endeavors in addressing climate change, not only at national, but also at regional and global scale. I thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Excellency, for that call to action for the next COP. We're now going to hear a local perspective on the advances towards zero waste. And we're very fortunate to have with us the president of UCLG and the mayor of Konya Metropolitan Municipality, Ulga Ibrahim Altay, who is going to give us a local perspective and who is joining us, I believe, online.
Sayın Büyükelçim, Sayın Birleşmiş Milletler Çevre Programı Avrupa Direktörü, Cenevre Belediye Başkanı, üye ülkelerin saygıdeğer temsilcileri, çok kıymetli konuklar, hanımefendiler, beyefendiler. Sizleri saygıyla, muhabbetle selamlıyorum. Bugün 30 Mart Uluslararası Sıfır Atık Anma Günü münasebetiyle sizlere hitap etmekten memnuniyet duyuyorum. Sayın Emine Erdoğan hanımefendinin himayelerinde yürütülen Sıfır Atık Projesi, Birleşmiş Milletler Genel Kurulu kararıyla desteklenerek 30 Mart Uluslararası Sıfır Atık Günü ilan edildi. Alınan bu karar özellikle sıfır atık konusunda toplumsal bilinçlenmenin önünü açarak daha yaşanabilir bir dünyanın kapılarını araladı. Bu vesileyle sözlerimin başında Sayın Emine Erdoğan hanımefendinin şahsında bu projeye destek veren Birleşmiş Milletler kurullarına ve sıfır atık konusunda çalışma yapan tüm üye ülkelere şükranlarımı sunuyorum. Saygıdeğer konuklar, sürdürülebilir bir yaşamın yegane anahtarı yaşadığımız dünyaya gözümüz gibi bakmak, kaynaklarımızı verimli kullanmak ve bu konularda bilinçli bir nesil yetiştirmekten geçiyor. Özellikle sıfır atık vizyonu çerçevesinde atık oluşum sebeplerini inceleyerek bu sebepleri bertaraf etmek ve israfın önüne geçmek yarınlarımız için son derece önemli bir husustur. Bu anlamda sıfır atık projesi iklim değişikliği başta olmak üzere çevremize, doğamıza ve geleceğimize önemli katkı yapacak son derece kıymetli projedir. İklim krizinin derinleştiği, kaynakların hızla tükendiği bu dönemde eylemsizlik artık bir seçenek olamaz. UCLG olarak bu dönüşümde çok önemli bir sorumluluğumuz bulunuyor. UCLG Başkanı olarak teşkilatımızla birlikte yerel yönetimler arasında işbirliğini teşvik etmek için sürdürülebilir kalkınma amaçlarını tüm politikalarımızda kullanmaya özen gösteriyoruz. Teşkilatımızın tüm politikalarında dikkate aldığımız Birleşmiş Milletler tarafından oluşturulan ve 2030 yılına kadar gerçekleştirilmesi planlanan sürdürülebilir kalkınma amaçları dünya genelinde ekonomik, sosyal ve çevresel açıdan dengeli bir büyümeyi amaçlayan bir yaklaşım ifade etmektedir. Bu hedeflere ulaşmak için ise atık yönetimi kritik öneme sahiptir. Özellikle şehirlerin sürdürülebilir kalkınmasını hedefleyen 11. madde sıfır atık politikalarına, şehirlerin ve toplulukların atık üretimini azaltmasına, geri dönüşümün teşvik edilmesine ve atıkların kontrol altına alınmasına yardımcı olmaya çalışılmaktadır. Sürdürülebilir tüketim ve üretim modellerini teşvik etmeyi amaçlayan 12. madde ise tüketim ve üretim süreçlerinde atık miktarını azaltmayı, yeniden kullanımı ve geri dönüşümü arttırmayı hedeflemektedir. İklim eylemine odaklanan 13. madde iklim değişikliğiyle mücadeleyi sıfır atık politikalarının bir parçası olarak düşünmemizi sağlamaktadır. Yerel yönetimlerin sürdürülebilir kalkınma amaçlarına ulaşmak için kendi yerel kalkınma stratejilerini oluşturmaları amacıyla geliştirilmiş gönüllü yerel değerlendirme raporlarını üyelerimiz arasında yaygın hale getirmeye çalışıyoruz. Birleşmiş Milletler tarafından desteklenen bu inceleme, yerel düzeyde kalkınma politikalarının etkisini değerlendirmeyi ve en iyi uygulamaların paylaşılmasını sağlamakta ve başta sıfır atık olmak üzere tüm alanlarda sürdürülebilir şehir amacını destekleyen bir yapı sunmaktadır. UCLG teşkilatı olarak oluşturduğumuz Gelecek Paktı'nda ise insanlar, hükümet ve gezegenin sürdürülebilir geleceği için kapsamlı hedeflere sahibiz. Gezegenin geleceği için paktımızda iklim değişikliğiyle mücadele başta olmak üzere atık yönetimi politikalarının daha adil ve etkili olmasını sağlamak ve sıfır atık hedefine ulaşmak için önemli adımlar atıyoruz. Sıfır atıklarımızı radikal bir şekilde azaltmamızı, yeniden kullanımı ve geri dönüşümü her zamankinden daha stratejik bir şekilde uygulamamızı gerektirir. Bu süreç yalnızca çevresel tahribatı azaltmakla kalmaz, aynı zamanda ekonomilerimizi canlandırır ve topluluklarımız için sağlıklı yaşam alanları oluşturur. Bu nedenle yerel yönetimlerin dünyadaki en büyük temsilcisi olan UCLG Başkanı olarak çok daha kararlı adımlar atmamız gerektiğini ifade etmek istiyorum. Atık yönetim sistemlerimizi yeniden tasarlamalı, sıfır atık prensiplerini hayatın her alanına entegre etmeliyiz. Yenilenebilir enerjiye geçiş yapmalı, sürdürülebilir kaynak kullanımını bir norm haline getirmeliyiz. En önemlisi ise toplumlarımızı bu hayati dönüşümde bilinçlendirmeli ve onları aktif katılımcılar olarak yetiştirmeliyiz. UCLG bünyesinde sürdürdüğüm görevler doğrultusunda şehrim Konya'da sıfır atık vizyonu çerçevesinde birçok projeyi hayata geçirdiğimizi ve dahası için gayretle çalıştığımızı ifade etmek isterim. Konya Sıfır Atık Yönetimi Sistemi planını hazırladık. 31 ilçemiz ve bağlı mahalleleri kapsayan yerleşim yerlerinde sıfır atık projesinin daha etkin uygulanması için çalışmalar yürütüyoruz. Konya Atık Su Arıtma Tesisimizde bulunan mor şebeke, arıtılan atık suların yeniden kullanım için faaliyet gösteriyor. Mor şebeke sayesinde atık suyu tekrar kullanarak yeraltı su kaynaklarının korunmasına katkı sağladık. Türkiye'nin ilk sıfır atık sanayi sitesinin inşaatında sona yaklaştık. Özellikle iklim değişikliğinin olumsuz etkilerini derinden hissettiğimiz bu dönemde dikkat etmemiz gereken hususlardan biri de binalardır. Bu nedenle Konya'mız sıfır karbon binalar projesi kapsamında dünyadaki 4 pilot şehirden birisi seçildi. Kararlılıkla ve büyük bir titizlikle uygulamaya devam ettiğimiz sıfır atık ve geri kazanım politikalarımız sayesinde başta ilçelerimizde inşasını sürdürdüğümüz ileri biyolojik atık su arıtma tesisleri başta olmak üzere şehrimizi sıfır atık hedefine ulaştırmak için gayret ediyoruz. Tüm bu projelerimizde çok daha güzel bir Konya ve daha temiz bir dünya için çalışmaya devam edeceğiz. Bugün burada geleceğimiz için kritik bir kavşakta dururken dünya genelinde tüm belediyeleri ve toplulukları daha yaşanabilir, adil ve sürdürülebilir bir dünya inşa etme yolunda birlikte hareket etmeye çağırıyorum. Sıfır atık hedefine ulaşmak için güçlerimizi birleştirelim. Çünkü yalnızca birlikte hareket edersek yaşadığımız dünyayı çok daha güzel hale getirebiliriz. Sözlerime son verirken Uluslararası Sıfır Atık Günü'nün bu konularda milat olmasını temenni ediyor. Sizleri saygı ve muhabbetle selamlıyorum. Sayın Büyük
Thank you very much indeed, Excellency, for that message. So as we come to the final moments of our meeting here today, I think really there's been a lot of information, but there's generally a message of hope and optimism. If we go back to 2017, where Her Excellency, the First Lady, pulled all these partners together to start this initiative off, today we're really advancing well. We've seen that the global report that UNEP has just released shows very clearly the evidence, not just the science, but the evidence and the economics about why this is so important, and how this can now drive a lot of the policy in countries on zero waste, as we start to see waste more as a solution rather than a problem. I think it's very clear from most of the presentations this afternoon that waste crosses everybody's path. Nobody can escape the influence of waste. And we've seen here, we've heard that from all of the agencies and partners here who have contributed this afternoon, all of them are working towards this goal of zero waste. So as we move to COP29, and indeed as we go to the Summit of the Future, which will be debated later on this year, these are the key building blocks of policy that we need to start together. So I'd like to thank on my behalf the organisers and all of you for coming here this afternoon and for all the presenters. But of course, I would like to hand over to the dear Ambassador Guven from the Perm Rep of Turkey, who without them, this whole meeting, this whole process would have not happened. So, Ambassador, can you kindly give us your closing remarks and close the meeting? Thank you.
I think our discussion today has confirmed first the cross-dimensional and complex nature of the matter at hand. Human rights, health, labor, trade, economy, governance, including at local level. Second, it is beyond environmental imperative. There is economic opportunity as well. Circular economies can create new jobs, boost innovation, and consolidate economic resilience. Turkey will pursue this matter with the best of its abilities. I think you must have been reassured our commitment at all levels. The next steps, I think we should put an extra effort to expand the circle of our friends and partners, because complex matters such as this may require a larger mobilization, but I am sure we will be also able to do that. It may also help to elevate the visibility of, I hope I am not, I try to choose my words carefully, but I hope that it will also help the elevation of the visibility of the UN Habitat, UNEP, the other related organizations here, because sometimes the human rights dimension may overshadow the importance of such entities. Thank you again. Many thanks for all that has participated to the event. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, your remarks. That was very insightful. I know Manal and House. Yeah. Are they your team? No, they are in a different division, but we work together. I think we need to chemical, but I'm coordinator environment for running the island, so.